Welcome to the Be Your Soul podcast. I'm your host, Sky Bradshaw, and today we're exploring one of the most profound yet often overlooked aspects of the spiritual journey, our bodies as sacred vessels of wisdom. We live in a world that encourages us to disconnect from our physical selves. But what if our bodies are actually one of our greatest spiritual tools? In this episode, we're diving into the art of embodiment and how we can learn to listen to the messages held within our muscles, bones, and breath. Joining me today is Cypris Birkel, a licensed craniosacral and lymphatic massage therapist whose work is centered on helping people unlock the deep wisdom stored in their physical form. We'll explore how our experiences shape us on a cellular level, how true healing is more about allowing than forcing, and how tuning into our intuition can guide us towards greater balance and well-being. So, take a deep breath, get comfortable, and let's step into the wisdom of the body together. Let's first invite ourselves to become present in this moment within our body, mind, and energy, so we can fully receive this episode. Take a moment to invite yourself to take some deep and cleansing breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth. In through your nose and out through your mouth. And as we breathe in through our nose and out through our mouth, we invite our mind, body, and energy to relax, 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 relax. Relax, 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 relax. And as we move into this space of complete relaxation, we open up our energies to the ancestors, loved ones, and friends to come together today to heal and guide us and lift us to the highest version of ourselves in the light of the universe, so we may hear what we need to hear, know what we need to know, connect how we need to connect, and be what we need to be for our highest and best good and the highest and best good of all involved as we open up space to give and receive. Your body as a spiritual tool, listening to the wisdom within. Your body is not just a vessel. It is a sacred archive of your experiences, your energy, and your truth. It holds the echoes of your past, the reality of your present, and the potential of your future. Each sensation, every ache, every moment of ease, holds a story, one that is meant to be heard, not ignored. Yet, in a world that prizes productivity over presence, we have been conditioned to disconnect from our bodies. We push past exhaustion, dismiss discomfort, and silence the signals that are trying to guide us back to balance. But what if we listened? What if instead of viewing our bodies as obstacles to overcome, we embrace them as the intuitive guides they're meant to be? Healing is not about force. It's about allowing. It is about softening into the wisdom that already exists within you. Your body is not broken. It doesn't need to be fixed. It needs to be heard, honored, and nurtured. True transformation comes not from fighting against ourselves, but from aligning with the messages our bodies so generously offer. So today I invite you to pause, to breathe, to place a gentle hand on your heart, your belly, or wherever you feel called. Ask yourself, what is my body trying to tell me? What does it need? Not from a place of guilt or obligation, but from a space of deep, loving respect. Maybe it needs rest, maybe movement, maybe a moment of stillness or a shift in how you speak to yourself. Whatever arises, trust that. When we care for our bodies, we honor the vessel that carries us through every experience, every challenge, and every moment of joy. Nurturing ourselves isn't just an act of self-preservation. It's an act of empowerment. When we feel whole, we show it with greater presence, creativity, and compassion. Our bodies are not separate from our spirits. They are the bridge between our dreams and our ability to bring them to life. May you trust the wisdom within. May you honor your body's voice. And may you walk this journey in deep connection with all that you are.
This episode of Be Your Soul is brought to you by Tarot by Sky, your home away from home for intuitive tarot, energy healing, and spiritual growth. Whether you're seeking clarity through a tarot reading, deep healing with an energy session, or powerful tools to align your energy, Sky Bradshaw offers a range of services designed to support your journey. Looking to deepen your spiritual practice? Sky's classes and courses help you tap into your intuition, understand your energetic boundaries, and manifest with purpose. Plus, with exclusive packages and subscriptions, you can receive ongoing guidance whenever you need it. Step into your power with Tarot by Sky, because it's your future. Visit Tarot by Sky to book a session, explore offerings, and start your journey toward alignment today.
In today's episode, I'm honored to be joined by Cypris Birkel, a licensed craniosacral and lymphatic massage therapist with a deep passion for the healing arts. Cypris's journey has been anything but ordinary, starting as a chef, performer, and psychology student before she was called to the world of bodywork. Her own experience with chronic pain led her to explore gentle touch therapies like lymphatic drainage and craniosacral work, where she has found profound healing for herself and others. She works not only with people, but also with horses, recognizing the intuitive wisdom that both species carry. Today, we're diving into your body as a spiritual tool, listening to the wisdom within. We often think of healing as something we do, but what if it's something we allow? Cypris brings a wealth of wisdom on embodiment, self-trust, and the art of listening to the body's messages. I can't wait to explore this topic with her. So let's get started. Thank you so much for being here and sharing your energy and wisdom with our listeners. I am just so happy to have you in my life and all that I've received over the maybe decades that we've known each other. And sharing that with everybody else just feels like a beautiful gift to the world. So thank you.
Oh, thank you. I still can't believe how long we've known each other with so many different phases of our lives.
I know. It's beautiful and magical. I love it. So we're going to talk about your body as a spiritual tool, listening to the wisdom within. And when I was formulating this topic and thinking about you as far as this goes and the work that I've received from you, and your magical touch, it got me thinking about the first time I read like The Body Keeps the Score and the profound impact that made on my life, reminding me that every experience, whether joyful or painful, leaves an imprint in our physical selves. And in the work that you do, it's like you invite people to recognize and honor that wisdom in their body. And you hold such beautiful space for that. And I wanted to invite you to kind of talk about that a little bit.
Well, I think part of the gift I have is the breadth of experience coming into being a cranio and lymphatic specialist, because this is my technical fourth career at this point. And the thing that I say to a lot of people is don't be afraid to try new things, because that's how I've gotten into pretty much everything I've done for the last 40 plus years at this point. And I really use both science and humor together to try and empower people with one, just knowledge. Like the craniosacral system and the lymphatic system are both very intricate, pretty obtuse to most people, unless we're thinking about cancer, the nodes that like the doctors palpate. So I find that just giving people like, hey, this is what the system is, this is what it does, this is where it is, and this is how we're going to work with it. Now, working with these systems means I'm working in delicate areas of the body. So I say that I specialize in armpits, groins, and butts, because that's where a lot of the lymphatic and craniosacral work is. So I start out kind of by getting really technical. So it's like, okay, here's the beautiful system that we are working with, because talking about any way we look at the body or energetically, just having knowledge of what you're trying to target can really empower people, because it can be kind of, hard to figure out in the first place, especially since there's so many different ways to just look at one specific system of the body. And then I also say twitching, drooling, and farting are all compliments, and you will not be the first or the last person that farts on my hand. I assure you, you won't be the first or the last. so I have found that before starting a session, getting really technical, empowering them with knowledge, then being like, hey, look, yeah, I just gave you a bunch of information, but we can just relax and just go with the flow, I have found really helpful.
And I think that one of, the knowledge part is just as important as the joy or the going with the flow part. I know part of my biggest challenges when it came to my body was like, I just didn't know. Like, you don't know why this is doing that thing that you like or don't like. You don't understand. And, some people are kind of raised in an environment where they have all this bodily knowledge and people talk about it to them. And then other people, it's just like kind of, you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And then when someone opens that door, that's what I think the Body Keeps the Score did for me, where they opened that door and I was like, wait a minute, like that concept had never come across my table. And obviously it was many years ago when I read it, but it's still profound to this moment where, you give people permission to embody their whole self. When you talk about these intricate things that they barely knew existed. They just knew the symptom of their presence.
Oh, yeah. And especially like being women and all of the weird, we'll say undiagnosable autoimmune inflammatory things that a lot of us struggle with, you know, at least in my personal like pain journey, having the knowledge of like, oh, it's not just all in my mind. There is a system that can help, and just having that little bit of knowledge can be very helpful and calming too.
Absolutely. And then to couple it with humor, I think everything should be coupled with humor, in my personal opinion. But to couple it with humor and joy and bliss, like that's that loving the body. That's going like, yes, it is this technical mechanism that I really love, that I care for, that I want to embrace with grace and kindness and happiness and respect. Mm-hmm. And I think that one of the misconceptions that happens is that we treat healing like something we do instead of something we allow. And a lot of times we can, I remember at points in my life where I'm like, just keeping migraines away is my full-time job, like making it like a duty instead of like an embracing and allowing and connecting. So how do you think in your practice you help people shift from that kind of forceful healing into more like intuitive, receptive healing?
Part of it is just relating my own story, because I have chronic pain and swelling challenges since I was about 15. And so just kind of setting someone down and being like, hey, I understand, this, first of all, sucks. Like what you're going through, it is not fun. I know you've been getting all kinds of input and told all kinds of different things. So just using my own personal journey to kind of relate to people can really help. And then just listening, honestly, because a lot of people, first of all, doctor's visits are maybe 15 minutes if you're lucky. At least like in my practice, I have a lot more leeway to actually like take a very detailed medical history and just listen. And, once someone gets on the table, stuff will start coming out because we all don't remember all of our medical history. So it's also the ability to kind of just make people comfortable so they can just kind of tell me those little clues that I really actually could use to help.
And it's a being with, I think that when we're with someone like you're describing, then they are invited to be with themselves compared to kind of like that technical, tell me the list of things that are going on. And then we take that outside of ourselves and like make it separate, more technical in that way. And I think there have been numerous times where like those aha moments happen because you're not trying to solve the puzzle. You're just listening in that space.
Well, and even when you're trying to solve this puzzle of whatever you're experiencing, that means that you're focusing on whatever that discomfort or whatever you are experiencing that much more. So, in at least in my personal opinion and experience, like taking it as your job, like I'm not going to have migraines, it's my job, or I'm not going to have chronic swelling, like I have to, like it makes my pain experience worse. So also just encouraging people to like, hey, it's all right. Like you're in this moment, it will pass, everything is temporary.
You're right. And I like to remind people like worrying is not planning. So if we are if we're worrying and worrying and worrying over it, energy goes where our attention flows. So, even if the literal pain level doesn't increase, the mental pain level increases and we amplify it and link it to, and all of those sorts of things. So it doesn't mean ignore it. It doesn't even mean don't use Western medicine. It means like, what is the and that we're looking at here? So you are the one who feels like you're in charge, so to say. You feel like you're empowered to be able to help yourself.
Absolutely. And sometimes just going out and playing and
Mm-hmm.
having fun has been really helpful too, because, we can get so solutions oriented and results focused, and that like is a very Western mindset. But if just taking the time, like when it snowed a couple of weeks ago, to go out and actually make a snow angel, like so beneficial, just like, hey, get completely out of that pain body for a little bit and just do something silly and fun.
Right. And without guilt, because that, I think whenever we take pain as a responsibility, then we feel like we have to carry it like an anchor at all times, instead of going like, even if it may feel like an anchor at points in time, the times you can set it down and not have to carry it, do it, like do it when you can. I'm also a huge proponent and believer that it is those small, tiny self-care moments, like playing in the snow, or taking 5 minutes between activities, or whatever you need to do, that will fill your tank eventually. And you're not coming from that depleted mode of like having carried this weight up the mountain. You're like, well, I put it down, I do a thing, I get my strength back. I might have to pick it back up until I figure it out, but it's not this like compressing energy when we take those little breaks and take care of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you work with both humans and horses, and both are super intuitive. What lessons have you learned from animals that also apply to human healing?
Oh my. Well, if you think we are intuitive, horses and probably all animals, honestly, are like umpteenth exponentially more intuitive than we are. I mean, they can tell before I round a corner, like if I might be a little bit sad, or like they can tell my pain level better than I can. It's like this really interesting thing working with horses because, for one, they don't have an ego. So all
Mm-hmm.
that is completely taken out, which is amazing, which also means that work gets done a lot quicker because
Yeah.
they're not thinking. They're not like, oh my gosh, is she feeling a part of my fat that I didn't know was there? Oh my goodness, what happens? I need to do laundry. Like the horse is just like, hey, what's up? What you gonna do? And so the two main things that I learned from working with horses is, one, the benefit of going incredibly slow. Because with horses, the slower you are, the quicker things will actually start working.
Mm.
And so I take that into my practice because sometimes, I mean, I try, the goal in a treatment is to stay neutral the entire time. But of course, our minds get into it as a therapist, and it's like, well, I'd like to work on this muscle to maybe help this muscle. And sometimes it's really helpful for me to be like, hey, wait a minute, we'll just slow back down,
Mm-hmm.
feel into the person and what their body wants, because obviously the horses can't talk either. So the slower you are, the faster you pick up their signals of what feels good, what doesn't feel good. And then another thing, the biggest lesson, honestly, is just how far and how deeply our energy affects everyone around us.
Mm-hmm.
Because I can have, a challenging mental day, put it aside, go in and work on a human. And as far as I know, no one knows the difference. A horse, though, if I come in and I'm having like a legit, like I can't fake it, they will know.
Mm-hmm.
And I will come in and I will not be as grounded as I could be because of whatever's going on. And they won't get grounded and they won't settle into their treatment. And
Mm-hmm.
so just that deep knowledge and realizing just how much and how far our energy goes and is felt, even if we as humans with our ego don't feel it as deeply as a horse does,
Mm-hmm.
it's all going underneath the surface and we don't realize it, but I know it's still there.
Yeah. And to me, that speaks to that idea, the difference between putting this to the side and processing and releasing. And so, like when a lot of times when we know, and it happens, we have to do it. Sometimes we're like, I just had this crazy thing and now I've got to go do this other thing. And really thinking about the fact it is still there. If all I'm doing is putting it on the shelf and I'll come back to it later, then it's still on my shelf. And so that's the horses are noticing that it's still on your shelf. The
Oh, yeah.
humans might not be consciously noticing, but there's like something inside that might likely be cueing them. And it doesn't mean if we waited till we were perfection before we did any work on ourselves or others, then we would all be waiting in eternity. But it's the concept of like thinking about like, did I just shove it down? Or did I release and ground as much as I can and truly move it as much through my energy system as I can, before I come back and address it at a later point? And I think that, that's a good awareness technique to have as far as what we're doing with the things that we, because in life in general, we're going to have 1,000 stacks of things that we've got to work on. And, if we're pulling strings into our energy with each one, like it's a profound thought process, I think. How are we addressing it? Not just like getting rid of it.
Right. Well, of course, being out in like a stable with my feet on the ground is really good for
Mm-hmm.
personal grounding as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we all need personal grounding more and more and more.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, speaking of that, is there anything else about your body as a spiritual tool and listening to the wisdom within that you think is important that the listeners should think about or know about?
Well, so I started kind of playing with my intuition when I was in high school. I mean, I was just a kid. I was playing volleyball and then decided to take this psych class that I talked myself into. And that's when I started kind of learning about the gut instinct and like, oh, maybe just see what your gut kind of says. And so
Mm-hmm.
from a pretty young age, I just for funsies would be like, oh, what's my gut say? Not really taking it that seriously, but still, in my little baby self trying to tune in. And as I got older, I started calling my intuition my something. And so I call it my something because I'll be like, something told me to turn left, and then I'll turn left. And then something great will happen. Or I'll turn right and something not so great will happen. I've
Mm-hmm.
gotten into some car wrecks accidentally that were like running over curbs and messing stuff up when I should have turned left, kind of a thing. And it's so strong now. And I've worked with it so much that, like, my husband, he says that he's like, I don't understand what you do, but I believe in it. And we know what happens when we don't listen to something. So it's always been kind of like a part of my life, and also just kind of the willingness to say, yes to things, because I know I mentioned I've done several careers before this one, but the things that I've gotten into previous to massage therapy and even massage in general was just by someone being like, hey, you should try fire spinning tonight. And I'd be like, huh, okay. And then I did it for 10 years. Or I finished my psych degree. Oh, why don't you come do clinical research? Huh, don't know what that is, but I'll try that. And then I did that for a while. So I think like the like embodying the soul and just really having the ability to trust your gut, even if you kind of don't understand why, like why would I turn left and not right? It's such a small little thing. And I think taking the time to just start like, because I really would, like, I can remember being like 20 years old, standing on a corner, being like, all right, today we're going to work on our intuition. Which way we're like, and now I'm 41 and it's so ingrained. It's lovely. So I encourage anyone to start just working with their gut instinct, even if you don't want to really call it like intuition or empathic or anything. You can just play around with your gut.
And we all have it. That's the thing. It's like everyone has access to the intuitions. And so when we think about, those little things that you were saying you did, those are those small, tiny acts of influencing positive connection when it comes to the intuition. It wasn't that you sat down and took a whole course or that focused your whole life on studying this. It was small moments that created this larger outcome. So I think that's a great thing for everyone to remember. You don't have to climb the mountain every time that you feel like you need a message. The message is in there. So I ask every guest 3 questions. And the first one is, what do you think it means to be your soul?
Well, I thought about this one a lot and it got like really complicated. And then I kind of settled on this one thing, and I feel like being in your soul is the ability to listen deeply to yourself, no matter what state of mind or mood you are in.
Ooh.
And especially being in perimenopause with all these very fun hormonal new feelings, shall we say. it's, um, it's been really interesting just taking a step back and really thinking about like, is this mine? Is it somebody else's? Is it just hormones? Am I just hungry? Am I just tired? And so really like being in your soul is even when you're not feeling good or you don't feel like you're being your best self, still being able to like sit back and be like, all right, there's something else going on.
You can identify yourself outside of that static in that way. Yeah.
Well, and like we're also ever changing because I was trying to think about, well, being in my soul is saying yes to so many things throughout my life. A lot of people look at me and they're like, oh, you're so fearless. You've done like so many different things. You've been to so many different countries. And it's not that I don't experience fear. It's just that after saying yes for so many years and having so many lofty goals that were eventually achieved just by staying focused and like keeping my heart and energy clear, like I've gone through what some people would call failures enough times to know that it gets better. And it's always like my dad would always say, like, any sort of mistake or error is an unplanned opportunity.
Yes, I
So
agree.
I kind of go by that as well. Like you're going to learn something, and if you don't like what you say yes to, you can always try something else.
I always like to remind people it's one of the greatest gifts of being human. We can make as many choices as we want.
Yep.
So, what is one self care practice that you do every day, no matter what?
Well, I have what we call belly rub time in the morning with my dog.
Mm.
So every morning, if he hasn't slept in bed, he comes before I wake up. And so we'll be like, good morning, belly rub time. And I'll just turn everything off and we just lay in bed and I just give him belly rubs. I'm really into stand-up comedy. So after we do morning belly rubs, I put in whatever comic I'm into and I watch stand-up, and then I have my cup of tea or espresso, and that's my like every single day I do that. And of course I have the things I do before and after every client I see, and more serious meditative practices, but those are the two things I do every day
Yeah,
without.
that's great. I'm going to steal that for a week and start the day with comedy every day.
It's helpful. I really like it.
I love comedy. I'm going to steal it. I'll let you know how it goes. I want to borrow that. I want to borrow that.
I'll send you some of my favorite comics.
Nice. I like it. So, how do you know when you're centered and balanced, and what does that feel like in your life?
Well, that's a very good question that I also thought a lot about because, for one, I am a very silly person. So, being centered and grounded means that, like, I have a very, like, adept sense of humor no matter, like, what room I'm filled with people. So, like, I'm feeling just as gregarious as possible. It's kind of when I feel the most grounded and confident, which comes across in my practice too, because like I said, I give information and then use humor and all that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But a way that I stay grounded, like just throughout the day, for one, I love trees of all forms and all times of year. So when I'm driving, I have some favorite trees and I'll be like, oh, there's that tree. And then I just look at it and then I wait for my next favorite tree. And so I just have trees along my drive that I'll just like take time to like enjoy, and that keeps me grounded. And then there's like talking about like silly little things to do during the day, like Jacob Felder, speaking of one of my old performance buddies, taught me years ago that when you go to a gas pump, if you just stand there and breathe, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 as the numbers switch, that's a really
Mm,
good way to just like center and ground. Same with like sitting at a stoplight and listening to the clicker of your turn signal, and just like
mm,
taking like little things like that and being like, oh, okay, here's a tree. I'll think about being in the present moment. Oh, here's the clicker. Okay, I hate that sound, but I'm going to count it anyway so I can calm down and breathe.
mm-hmm. Those are great things.
Yeah, so it's just those, honestly, it's a lot of little things throughout the day more than huge, like 45-minute
Mm-hmm.
meditations every day.
And everybody can do those. Like those are little things, or they could create their own that are similar to that. And really, all it's about is like awareness, becoming present in your body and feeling that sensation of like a little more present, a little more present, a little more present. All right, listeners, I'm gonna hear how you did this, because this is she just gave you the easiest, most simple way to add a little something.
Any and all silly ideas, welcome.
Yes, any and all silly ideas. We're down with it. Thank you so much. This was so great. So, do you have any upcoming classes or offerings that you want to shout out and let people know where to find you?
Yes, so I'll be at the Triad Reiki conference, which is Saturday, April 26th from 10 to 6 p.m. I will be with Azalea of Emerge Skin and Soul. She's going to be doing a talk on Reiki and how to bring that into your practice. And I will be set up in a booth there offering treatments to give you a little idea of what my form of Reiki is like, which is Reiki and massage therapy.
Mm-hmm. I'm going to be there too. I'm going to be speaking on Reiki in your everyday life and how to integrate energy there. So that will be good. Everybody should come out, and I'll have Art of Energy and Little Energies there in a booth. So maybe I can request for us to sit next to each other.
I love the Art of Energy deck. I've had it since it came out, so I
Oh,
really.
yay. Thank you. And go ahead and let everybody know your website so they know where to find you. You have two different locations that you practice from, and can they find both of them on your website?
Well, website, I've got my personal practice, and then I'm also at Emerge Skin and Soul. So my website is very long because I'm a massage therapist. It is Cypris, Cypris Bodywork, BODYWORK, and wellness.com. So Cypris Bodywork and wellness.com. That's got information about what craniosacral and manual lymphatic drainage is, more information about my equine services, and then I also do some introductory lymphatic CE classes by request. And then at Emerge, which is at 2002 South Elm Street in Greensboro, I work Wednesday, Thursday, and Saturdays. And that is Emerge, EMERGE, skinandsoul.com. And you can book me through there.
Hey, I highly suggest it, everyone. I have been thoroughly enjoying the work that we have been doing together on my body. So thank you very much.
Of course.
And thank you, dear listeners, for being a part of this journey of deep listening and self-discovery. Your presence in this space is a powerful reminder that healing begins with awareness and that every step towards connection within ourselves and the world around us creates a ripple of transformation. By tuning in and honoring your body's wisdom, you're not just nurturing yourself, you're strengthening the collective energy that surrounds us all. Together, we are learning, growing, and awakening to the infinite possibilities that come from truly listening. We are so grateful for you and the light you bring to this shared path.
This episode of Be Your Soul is brought to you by Little Energies, a beautiful collection of chakra-aligned tools designed to help children connect with their emotions, energy, and intuition. Created by Sky Bradshaw, Little Energies makes self-awareness fun and accessible through books, journals, and oracle cards that empower kids to understand their own energy in a simple, engaging way. These tools provide a gentle, supportive way to introduce mindfulness, emotional balance, and energetic boundaries to the little ones in your life. With the Little Energies Bundle Pack, kids can explore their inner world with confidence and curiosity. Give the gift of self-awareness and energetic wellness. Visit littleenergies.com to explore the full collection and bring balance to the next generation.
In this segment, I offer tools and guidance I have found helpful in my practice, and maybe you will too. So let's get brave and talk about simple, obtainable self-care. Your body is always speaking to you. It whispers and sensations, nudges and tensions, and sometimes even shouts in discomfort, all in an effort to guide you towards balance and well-being. But in the rush of daily life, we often ignore these signals, pushing through instead of pausing to listen. In this practice, we'll slow down and tune in. We'll explore how to hear your body's wisdom, understand its messages, and respond with love. So grab your journal and your beautiful body, and let's begin. Begin by closing your eyes and taking 3 slow, deep breaths. As you breathe in, invite awareness into your body. Feel the air entering your lungs and notice how your chest and abdomen expand. With each exhale, release any tension or stress you may be holding. Let go of any distractions and come fully into this present moment. As you continue to breathe deeply, gently shift your focus inward and scan your body from head to toe. Notice any areas that feel tight, heavy, or warm, and contrast them with areas you might feel relaxed or at ease. Pay attention to any sensations, whether subtle or pronounced, that arise. As you perform this body scan, be curious about how you feel. Where do you notice tension? And where does it feel open and energized? Are there areas that seem to draw your attention? Or perhaps parts of your body that feel lighter or more grounded? Take a moment to jot down your observations. These might include physical sensations, emotions, or even images that come to mind. You may notice something like a dull ache in your shoulders, a fluttering feeling in your chest, or a sense of rootedness in your feet. Whatever arises, let it flow without judgment. This exercise is about awareness, not analysis, so simply observe. Now, reflect on one specific area of your body that stood out during your check-in. Perhaps it's the knot in your stomach or the tightness in your jaw or a warmth around your heart. Gently place your hand on that area as a gesture of connection and care, and close your eyes again. In this stillness, ask your body, what do you need me to know right now? Don't rush the process. Allow the answer to unfold naturally. Your body's wisdom often communicates in subtle, intuitive ways. It may speak in feelings, fleeting images, or even single words. Be open to receiving whatever comes, without judgment or expectation. Trust that whatever arises is important, even if it doesn't make immediate sense. Maybe you hear a simple phrase like slow down, or perhaps a color or emotion appears, such as the color blue or the feeling of sadness. These messages might not be in full sentences, but they are fragments of insight that your body is offering. The key here is to listen and observe with patience, knowing that your body is communicating its wisdom in its own unique language. Write down whatever you experience, trusting that it has significance, even if the meaning isn't immediately clear. Once you've received the message from your body, it's time to consider how you can respond with care. What is one small, kind act you can offer yourself in response to what your body is asking for? Maybe your body is asking for rest, or perhaps it's yearning for movement. It may even crave nourishment or stillness. Think about how you can honor this message in a tangible way. This step is not about grand gestures, but rather about choosing one simple action that reflects kindness and awareness towards your body's needs. Write down one action you can take, something achievable and practical. For example, if your body is asking for rest, you might give yourself permission to take a break or lie down just for a few minutes. If it's calling for movement, perhaps you can stand up and stretch gently or go on a brief walk. Whatever the action is, commit to responding with tenderness and attention. Trust that even small gestures of self-care can have a powerful impact. By honoring your body's wisdom, you are strengthening your connection to yourself and deepening your capacity for self-love and care. I invite you to reflect on how you can embrace your body as a spiritual tool, one that holds deep wisdom and is always ready to guide you. Just like any relationship, the more you tune in and listen, the deeper your connection becomes. Our bodies aren't separate from our spiritual journey. They are the very vessel through which we experience the world and ourselves. So take a moment to honor the messages your body is offering and recognize that each time you listen, you are nurturing not only yourself, but the collective energy we all share. Trust that every action of care, every moment of listening, is a step towards healing and growth for you and for all of us. May you be well, may you find peace, may you be whole, and may you feel blessed.
If this episode sparked something within you, take the next step by joining us on Patreon. Our Be Your Soul community offers exclusive benefits like early access to episodes, unedited video interviews, and quarterly bonus content such as a 21-day journaling course. Patrons also receive PDF files of each episode's exercises and so much more. By becoming a patron, you'll gain tools and insights that empower you to fully embody your soul's purpose. Visit beyoursoul.org to explore Patreon, podcast episodes, and more.